Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. Today I want to show you how to make pasta bechamel. The recipe is Egyptian, but the combination of ingredients does not have Egyptian origins. Although it is a staple dish in Egypt, and in Arabic it's called Macarona Bechamel. Egyptians have to thank two great nations for this recipe, which are Italians and Greeks. I guess it has to do something with the wave of immigration of those two groups of people that primarily settled in Alexandria, which has a very strong influence of northern Mediterranean cuisine. The Italians came up with a very similar dish, which is called pasticcio, which translates to a mess. It's pretty much a leftover pasta with some tomato sauce and cheese that is baked. The Greek version is much closer to the Egyptian version, and it's called pasticcio. In addition to the tomato sauce, it has a bechamel sauce on top. Okay, and let's not forget the Russians. We have a very similar dish, which is called macaroni po-flotsky, which is pretty much translated to Navy-style macaroni. It is pasta with some minced beef and sometimes sour cream added to the taste, and to me it looks much more messier than Italian version. I hope you enjoyed this history lesson. It will help you to understand the recipe better. So let's get started. Here are the ingredients for the beef filling, and also will be listed in the description box below. You will need 1 red onion, finely chopped, 600 grams of ground beef, 3 tablespoons of ghee or butter, and spices. You're going to need half a teaspoon of chili powder, quarter of a teaspoon of cinnamon, half a teaspoon of coriander, half a teaspoon of paprika, quarter of a teaspoon of ginger, quarter of a teaspoon of nutmeg, some Middle Eastern dry herb mix, and salt and pepper. You're also gonna need some pasta, and traditionally penne pasta is used, but you can use rigatoni, elbow, or ziti. And here are the ingredients for bechamel sauce, and also will be listed in the description box below. You will need 1.5 liters of whole milk, which is about 6 cups, 1 cup of flour. You're also gonna need 1 cup of Italian cheese mix, 2 eggs, 3 tablespoons of ghee or butter, and some salt and pepper to taste. You're also gonna need some deep baking dish. Sometimes it's called lasagna dish. First, we need to boil our pasta in a large pot with boiling water. Add 1 teaspoon of salt, and we're gonna throw in the pasta. Now this pasta has to be boiled, but not quite to the ready stage. If your package says 13 minutes, boil it for about 10. Then you need to drain your pasta, and after that we need to shock it with cold water because we want to stop the cooking process and set your pasta aside. To make a meat filling, in a large skillet add 3 tablespoons of ghee. And I like using ghee because it doesn't burn as much as your butter. But if you don't have ghee, you can add 3 tablespoons of butter. Then we're gonna add our minced onions, and we're gonna fry them just so they kind of soft and show a little bit of color. And after that, we're gonna add our ground beef, and then we have to break it apart so it cooks evenly, and we're gonna have to cook it for quite a long time. At first, your beef is going to release a lot of juices, and your filling is going to look very watery, and we cannot have a watery filling in our finished dish. So we need to cook it until all the liquid has evaporated, and after that we're going to add all the spices. We're going to mix it together, and our filling is done. So just set it aside and let it cool a little bit. To make bechamel sauce, in a large pot add 3 tablespoons of ghee or butter. Then melt your butter, and after that we're gonna add our flour. And we're gonna have to cook this flour until it shows a little bit of color, because when the flour isn't cooked in bechamel sauce kind of tastes funny. So you need to cook it down till it shows just a little bit of color, just a little bit of yellow, and your flour is gonna have some sort of a nutty flavor to it. Then you're gonna take it off the heat, and slowly you're gonna have to start adding your milk. So add maybe 1 cup at a time, and then mix it. And bechamel sauce is kind of tricky, so it can go very lumpy, which happened in my case, but I have this hand mixer to rescue. So I'm just gonna run this mixture through, make sure all the lumps have dissolved. And after that, voila, you have a very silky and smooth bechamel sauce. So just bring it to boil and take it off the heat. After that, we're gonna add some salt and pepper to taste. And we're also gonna add 3/4 of a cup of some cheese, Italian cheese mix. And in this cheese mix, I have some Parmesan, mozzarella, and Romano cheese. We're just gonna mix it, and we're gonna leave it to cool. Now, in some Egyptian recipes, they don't add any cheese and they just use a plain bechamel sauce. But I kind of like that cheesy flavor of that bechamel sauce, so I've decided to add it. And now we're ready to assemble our dish. I'm just gonna spray it with some cooking spray, and then we're gonna add a little bit of that bechamel sauce on the bottom of the dish. We're gonna kind of spread it around. And then we're gonna start layering our pasta bechamel. But before you do that, transfer your cooked and cooled pasta into a large mixing bowl. We're gonna add about 2/3 of our bechamel sauce in our cooked pasta, and we're gonna mix it together. Then transfer your coated with bechamel sauce pasta into your baking dish. So we're gonna add half of all our pasta into the bottom of that baking dish. Then we're gonna kind of flatten it a little bit so the layer looks even, because when you cut this dish into squares, you're gonna have to have a very clean cut. So we need to kind of flatten it down a little bit. Then on top of that layer of pasta, we're gonna add our meat filling. So we're just gonna spread it around, and once again we're gonna flatten it down so it kind of nice and even and all packed. And after that, we're just gonna repeat the process with the rest of the pasta. And we're gonna flatten it down and make it all even and pretty and nice. So just fill in all the gaps that you have in your dish. Then to the remaining amount of our bechamel sauce, which is 1/3, we're gonna add 2 raw eggs, and we're gonna use the whisk. We're gonna whisk it all together, and you will see your bechamel sauce will become runny again. And this layer is put on top of our dish, so when the dish is baked, that top layer is gonna look and taste almost like an egg souffle. So using the spatula, just spread it around evenly so it looks nice and even. And after that, we're gonna use that remaining amount of our cheese. We're just gonna sprinkle it on our top layer, and our dish is ready to go in the oven. Bake it at 365 degrees Fahrenheit for about an hour, or until you see that the top layer of your dish has risen and it's brown in color. Then you need to take it out and let it cool a little bit before you cut into it. And as you will see, that top layer that was very puffy is gonna come down a little bit, and that's a sign for you that you're ready to cut into this dish. And this will ensure a very clean cut of your squares, and it will look nice on your plate. Just take a knife and run your knife around just to release the sides of that dish, and we're ready to cut into it. And then you can cut it into squares. It depends on how big of a squares you want it. We're ready to serve our dish after that. So just use a very sharp knife and run your knife several times through the squares, and this will show the pasta cut when you take the squares out, and it will look so beautiful on your plate. And of course the first piece has to come out. It might not be perfect, but at the end you will see a perfect piece of pasta bechamel. And as you can see here, you can see the holes of the pasta, which is kind of cute. And we'll just dissect it a little bit to see what the layers look like. And here you go. You have this beautiful pasta in bechamel sauce with that egg souffle on top and some Parmesan cheese on top. I hope you like this recipe. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you soon. Bye.